Please allow me to introduce you then to our first speaker. This is Ruth Thomas from Toi Ohomai. Her presentation is Holistic Support for Kura Kaupapa Māori Graduates. Kia ora, Ruth, over to you.
Kia ora tātou katoa. So I'll just share my screen with you and go to our presentation view. So hopefully you can see the screen here. So this is quite abbreviated, but it's a part of the research into our services. And one of my interviewees was a Kura Kaupapa student who shared her experiences. She had completed the survey and suggested in one of her comments her background. So her experiences, what my first thoughts were about how we could help prevent some of the things that happened to her, and then what has ultimately been decided. So just looking at these students' experiences, so she filled in the survey, was looking for a way to try and voice how she was feeling, and then through these topics was able to share her experiences. So if we can have a read of what she said here. So first you'll see that the student had the specialised knowledge for the course they were doing, but their terminology knowledge was in Te Reo. And one of the ironies is that they said that they even tried to do the assessments in Māori, which of course is an option that could have been provided had the student felt comfortable to let the tutor or classmates know of their background. But actually they were hiding in plain sight in the class and trying to keep up using Google searching mainly, particularly in the group tasks where they were trying to show that they were doing their part, and the other part is the tutor's ability to pick up the situation. So, and have a read once again. This was really hard to listen to, as you probably appreciate. And you can see this really strong tension. The student deep in themselves knew that their reo was valuable and it was the right thing, but at the same time they had this horrible overlay of feeling dumb in the social context that they were in, socially extremely different from their small town where everybody knew everybody, so they were in this position, and unfortunately they did not succeed in their qualification, I can tell you. So they did say, one of the things that relates back a little bit to our previous session with Joe, didn't even want to write anything in any forums or what have you because they were worried about spelling and being judged. Wanted, if possible, learning support to provide some sort of course to help with the academic English, which we obviously could do if we could gather together the students and invite them. And lastly, of course, that comfort in working with a support person who knows Te Reo Māori and just feeling comfortable with working with a staff member who's Māori. First thoughts, as per international learners, maybe have an ID in EBS based on last secondary school attended, which is quite possible. our Kaitātaiako facilitators, Māori who look after Māori learners in particular, and us, and tutors also having that awareness. This idea was well received, and obviously we could say, yes, did you know you can sit assessments in Te Reo Māori, for example, and have that discussion. However, second thoughts, Māori Success, concerned about deficit thinking and perhaps data sovereignty. So that meant we've now gone to the core practice through Kaiātaiako Success team who support academic staff of just helping our learners our staff to maybe have some strategies, some ways, some whanaungatanga that could allow the students to share that they have the kura background. So I'm going to be doing some work with that team, just sharing in more detail and looking at how our tutors can be upskilled in this area so this doesn't happen to another student. And these are the questions really that it leaves us with. How do we do this?
Brilliant questions. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you so much for sharing.
I have a question about this.
Yes, Marcus.
And thank you, Ruth, for that presentation. That's the first time I've seen that particular part of your research. My question lies, would this deficit, if you like, fall under equity? And if so, could it be addressed through an equity frame?
I guess it does. You know, the student was really clear they didn't want to blame anybody, and they were trying to navigate the space and hold their dignity and not kind of blame anybody, but perhaps
it's not about blame. It's about equity, and
yes,
if there is space to be made up or gaps,
I didn't get
to
that.
be filled.
Could you try again?
I'm not sure what that means. I think that's my Siri trying to jump in here. Sorry about that. Yeah, just about equity, and we talk about equity in terms of reader writers and that type of support for mainly English language. But why doesn't equity also apply to?
It's okay.
Sorry about that.
Listen, I'm sorry to delay this questioning, Marcus. I love where your thinking is heading. I wonder if there's an opportunity for you to put some of that thinking into the chat for us so that we can ponder some of your ideas. We need to move next to our next presentation, and I do apologise for that. I simply just want to make sure that our next presenters are able to be heard